Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakapatruvyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha. Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, most of us, maybe all, but at least most, have been here. We're here for the previous 2 days when we were reading through the previous verse 33 and trying to explain some of that at least. This verse 34, it naturally really, it has a connection with the previous verse. Srimad Bhagavatam, or any book really, is like that. There's a sense of continuum from one point to the next to the next. So here also, the same type of idea is there. 33 was saying that before anything existed in the material world, Krishna was there. Now that the material world is existing, Krishna is there in the material world. And the material world is based on him. And after the material world is destroyed, he will continue to exist. So he has it's a type of achintya abade relationship with the world. This world, according to verse 33, no material world, he is there. When there is a material world, he is there and he's supporting it. And when the material world is destroyed, he's still there. He's still there. So that's there from verse 33, and we talked about that in different ways. Here now, what the Lord is talking about to Lord Brahma is the state of things, or the connection with him when the material world is present, but in more detail than in verse 33. 33 just said that when the material world is there, it's supported by the Lord. This verse is saying that if, when the material world is existing, and there's so many things in it, there are universes, there are planetary systems, there are countries, there are people with relationships, and all sorts of living entities, of course. All these things are there in the material world when it has been created. So the point here is that if you're looking at the material world, if someone is looking at the material world, but they're saying that they're seeing it, thinking of it as being just some sort of independent reality which has no connection with the Lord, then we must know this is Maya, illusion. It's just not true. Maya, Prabhupada gave a translation of this term Maya as that which is not. That which is not, although it is, because you can see it and it's there. But to see it like that, it's not like that. It's not like some independent thing which has its own existence and maybe came into existence by itself and now is existing and functioning in certain ways by itself meaning no connection with Krishna at all. So the Lord is saying, this is Maya. This is Maya in the sense of that which is not. It's just not like that. And it's misleading in the sense, the Lord says in the verse, it's a reflection of the illusory energy which appears to have real value, like its own existence, when there's a state of darkness or a reflection, yes, of some light, which appears to have its own existence and is able to illuminate darkness on its own. But Prabhupada concluded the paragraph by saying that the wrong idea of detaching relationships from the Lord is not exactly false, but it's illusory. You know, achintya bhed abhed tattva means one with but different from at the same time. So this is an example of that. It's got a type of existence, but the type of existence is not what it appears to be. And we can explain it. It's not that hard in very simple terms. Say you have a big house. I mean, this is a fairly substantial house, of course, but if you have a really big house, just massive house, with many, many rooms, and some of the rooms inside the house don't have windows, so there's no, that the sunlight as such is not entering them as, you know, obviously the sunlight is entering the rooms here. But what is said here, that we should know it as the Lord's illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be substantial in darkness, but is just a reflection of light. It's not like light itself. So if you've got such a room in the center of some big building and the sunlight is just not reaching at all, I mean, without, of course, taking the example, I mean, we could even use the example of just having a light switch and a light in that room. But here, of course, the term reflection is used. Not just some independent source of light, but a reflection of light going, there's light, and it's being reflected into a dark place. And in that way, the dark place appears to have its own light. It's got its own light in and of itself, independent of any other source. It has its own light. So you can reflect that. You know, maybe as children we've played around with magnifying glasses, and, you know, you can project light into an area which doesn't have light, or with mirrors. So anyway, you can do like that. You can reflect light from one mirror to the next, and this way reflect light into a room, or like a cupboard perhaps, which has no light source of its own. But if then you think that, oh, look, this room or this cupboard, it has its own light, well, that's illusion. It's not false, because the light's there. It's real. But it is an illusion in the sense that that particular dark place, the place which is in the darkness, does not have its own light or access to light. It's coming from another source. But the idea is we're not recognizing the other source. Am I making any sense? I think it makes sense, doesn't it? Hare Krishna. Yes, so this is Maya. This is illusion. And in terms of everyday life, an example is just our material bodies, us. Generally, people think we are these bodies. I'm a man, you're a woman, I'm older, you're younger, etc., etc. But it's not exactly that, because I am not this body. But somehow this body has become empowered, and therefore we think, oh yes, I'm this body. And as this body, I can do this and do that, and it's me. But it's not exactly, it's the energy of the Lord, the potency of the Lord is giving the body its capacities to function in different ways, and even for consciousness to be there. So it's not false, it's real. The body is alive, but to think that the body is alive just with its own life is an illusion. It's just not true. You know, Srila Prabhupada, in the introduction to Ishopanishad, he talks about the 4 defects of the conditioned souls. So, one of them is to make mistakes. Another one is to cheat. Another one is to be illusioned. And another one is, what is it? Did I say to make mistakes? Imperfect senses. Imperfect senses. Then, with the information we get from our imperfect senses, we make mistakes. And so on like this. So, and then we apply those mistaken ideas to an illusory understanding of what this world is and what life is. And then on top of that, we cheat even ourselves. Yes, that's the unfortunate condition of the conditioned soul. So yes, so we're illusioned. And Prabhupada, in explaining these 4, giving examples of these 4, like imperfect senses, we look at the sun. The sun's out there somewhere, or must be out there somewhere. And we look from here, and it looks like a small disk, nothing particularly big at all, even like really small. But it's not. But because of our imperfect senses, we think that it's small. To make mistakes, Prabhupada gives the example of Mahatma Gandhi, who got assassinated because he made a mistake. I mean, maybe he would have been assassinated a bit later anyway, because there were lots of people who were not appreciating him. But in this case, what happened was the day before, the same person was going to come and assassinate him. How he was going to do it, I don't know if you know the story, at least what I heard. He was going to climb up the wall of this, it's the Birla temple in Delhi. He was going to climb up on the wall, just sort of looking over the wall. And when Gandhi came walking across the lawn to the prayer meeting, he was going to shoot over the wall and then run. And he thought, get away, because, he's on the other side of the wall and maybe he could have got away. But anyway, somehow some other person came walking along this little alley or whatever it was. And this man, what was his name? Ghosh, was it? Huh? Gose. Naturam, that's right. He got released from prison after a while. Yeah. I remember when he got released from prison. But anyway, someone came and saw him, and Gose, is it? Gose. Panicked, dropped the gun and ran. And they found the gun. And so they knew something's really up here. And it was at the time, around the time Gandhi was going to walk across the lawn to the prayer meeting. And he was warned. It looks like someone is going to kill you or try. So don't go, they told him, don't go to the prayer meeting. Stay away, because, these people may come again. And he did. But this time he just walked straight in. And I think he went like some sort of pranams and shot him at, like a foot or 2 feet away in the chest a few times. And that was that. So that was a mistake, because he was warned. And then illusion, the example Prabhupada gives of being illusioned is that we think we're these bodies, and therefore we're just independently alive and conscious and able to function as we like. But actually, it's all based on the potency of the Lord, because we are potencies of the Lord. We're not independent entities. We only have as much capability as the Lord gives us. We're all sitting here, we can see, but some people, like you've heard of this famous musician, Stevie Wonder? Did you hear of him? There's this famous musician, he's blind, completely blind. But up until he was, I think, 21, he could see like anybody else. But then some condition came upon him and he totally lost his sight. Yeah. Or even me, If I really want to see properly, I have to use the glasses, otherwise it becomes hazy. Anyway, some of you know what it's like. So, but when I was young, my eyes were very strong, exceptionally strong. I could read things at a far distance that hardly anybody else could read. And you think, oh yes, I'm pretty good, better than them. But then time acts and your senses lose their power. All your senses in so many ways. So, yes. So anyway, to think that I am just a conscious, sentient being on my own, independent of the Lord, who is the controller of all potencies, this is illusion. And then cheating. Do you remember? You must have read this. Do any of you remember what example Prabhupada gives in the Ishopanishad, where, he goes through all these things in detail, as I've just explained? Do you remember the example he gives for cheating? The example is the teaching of evolution. It's taught as a fact, not as a theory, but it's taught as a fact. And Prabhupada gives this as an example of cheating. And even, not right there, but elsewhere, Prabhupada talks about this, the word teach or teaching and the word cheating. And Prabhupada makes the point that the difference between the two words is just that the T of teaching and the CH, they're just exchanged. So teaching becomes cheating. Yes. So anyway, so this idea, the idea that we have no relationship with the Lord, but rather we're just independent people with our independent intelligence, strength, and everything else. It's not exactly false, because here we are, and we have sensory power, and we have some independence. If any of you decide today not to go to work, if you're working people, you can just not go to work. Just not go. You've got that some independence. It's not like a machine. You have to work. When they press the button, you just work. No, you can work or you can not work. Within limitations, we have independence within limitations. So the idea that we have no limitations is not completely false. We do have certain limitations, but it's illusory. Yeah, we have potencies, but potencies which are lent to us by the Lord. Therefore, as we were saying the other day, we have to give, what term did we use? Well, we have to be grateful to the Lord. We have to recognize how the Lord has given us so many things. To start off with, he's just given us life. So he's given us so many things, and we must recognize that fact and be appreciative and grateful, and not just be appreciative and grateful in the sense that, oh, the Lord has given me some intelligence, so I can use that to become rich or become famous myself. But we should be grateful in the sense that seeing he's given us the different capabilities we have, we must use them in his service. That's the point. That's the point. Even though we've got some limited independence as far as our intelligence, our physical abilities, and whatever, it's just limited, but actually it should be, all these things should be used in the Lord's service. So Prabhupada says the right conclusion of dovetailing everything in relationship with the Lord is called yogamaya, whereas the wrong conception of detaching things from their relationship with the Lord is called, well, Daivi Maya is one term, but the more common term is Mahamaya. It's just, Mahamaya, the term Mahamaya translates as the great illusion. Whereas Yoga Maya translates as an illusion which helps us connect with the Lord. Yoga meaning connection with the Supreme Lord, to link with the Lord. Yeah, so it's an illusion, but it's the type of illusion which helps us come closer to the Lord. So that's there. I mean, that's Yoga Maya. Mahamaya is just a great illusion. It's just all sort of fantasy. Like we're just independent people. We can do what we like. It's a fantasy. So Yoga Maya, now of course there's like a classic understanding of Yoga Maya in terms of the devotees, particularly of Vrindavan. They are in Maya. We are in Maya. I'm definitely in Maya, I promise you. We're all in Maya. And the devotees of Vrindavan, they're also in Maya, meaning illusion. Their illusion is that Krishna is just one of the village boys. But he happens to be a really amazing one of the village boys. He's just way better than any of the other village boys, but he's still one of the village boys. And so they relate with him like that. Not like, he's the Supreme Lord and we must bow down before him. In Vaikuntha, there is less or more, there is no illusion of that sort. Rather, everyone is vividly aware that Krishna or Lord Narayan is the Lord. And therefore, when they see him, they bow down every time. And they're very respectful. And they offer prayers glorifying his greatness and his power and everything like that. The Lord. He's my husband, but he's the Lord. So I have to serve him. But I just keep a low profile, keep at his feet. And if you know the story of Bhrigu Muni going to test Lord Brahma first, then Lord Shiva, then Lord Vishnu, to see who is the superior out of them, then you would know that when finally Bhrigu Muni went to Lord Vishnu and to test him, kicked him in the chest, and the Lord became apologetic that I hope you didn't hurt your soft lotus foot on my hard chest. Yeah, really, what an amazing consciousness. So the Lord, one thing the Lord said is, thank you for kicking my chest, because now some of the dust from your lotus foot is on my chest. So now, at last, maybe my wife will come and embrace me like in the normal way, so she can get some of the dust from your lotus foot, which is on my chest. Because up till now, she won't come any closer than my feet. So you've done me a favor. My relationship with my wife will become nicer, deeper, and there'll be more affection there. Yes, because there's no Yoga Maya, or if there is any, it's just very slight. Like Ayodhya is in Vaikuntha. That's the topmost part of Vaikuntha. But generally, it's got extremely limited yoga maya, that illusion of that the Lord is not the Lord, but he's just, one of us. There's a few examples from Ayodhya, but type of example from Ayodhya is when Lord Ram was exiled, Sita insisted on coming with him. And Ram basically told her, he did tell her, "You're not coming." And she said, "Well, I am coming, actually." Yeah. And he tried to tell her, "You can't come." And she said, "No, you can tell me what you like, but I'm coming." So, if it was just a matter of her being the humble little wife, as soon as he told her, "You're not coming, you're staying in the palace," she would have said, "Right, I'm staying." But she didn't do it, and she wouldn't do it. Yeah. Or the Ram Hanuman Milap, I think that's the term. When Ram at the end embraced Hanuman, "Thank you, you've done so much service. You've helped so much," that he embraced him, which is, he really embraced him, which is an act of intimacy. And Hanuman returned the embrace, but he felt embarrassed that he's the Lord. How can I just embrace him? I should be at his feet. But he accepted it. So little yoga mayas there. But in Vrindavan, the cowherd boys think that Krishna, who's he? He's just one of our friends. We play around. And the gopis, sometimes they chastise Krishna. Sometimes Krishna comes and tells them when they're picking flowers that, "You girls, you're stealing my flowers." And the gopis tell him, "Who said they're your flowers? Radharani is Vrindavaneshwari. She's the queen of Vrindavan. They're her flowers." And they get into a whole argument with him. That's yoga maya. It's an illusion. It's an illusion that, Krishna is just one of the boys and we can just tell him off if we like, because he's God. And you normally don't go around telling God off. But because of the illusion, they do. But through that, they come closer to him and they develop more love for him. And their relationships with him become deeper and more beautiful and more glorious. So both these mayas, yoga maya, mahamaya, they both have, it's a false idea that I have my intelligence and it's mine. Yeah. It's an illusory idea. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any comments, questions? Yes, Prabhu.
I understood why this yoga maya, which is the energy of the Lord, so that he can do his pastimes with his devotees.
Yes.
For his pastimes.
Yoga maya, yes, you can say that. It's two things really. Yoga maya is there so he can have loving pastimes which are not limited by the formality and like that of the devotees knowing that he is the great Lord Yeah, and we are just the little, practically nobodies. Yeah, so that's there to allow the Lord to have informal, playful, friendly, loving relationships. But it's also there because the devotees, those devotees, have so much love for him that it can only really be expressed in informal ways. Otherwise, if Mother Yashoda is not able to have the role of a mother, and with Krishna as her little son, her love will not be able to manifest fully. Her love will become like severely restricted. And that's not fair on her. And Krishna wants to have exchanges of that type with her love. Yes. So on one hand, it allows Krishna to enjoy pastimes, informal pastimes. On the other hand, it allows the devotees to express their love fully. Otherwise, their love will become, what would you say, crippled. In fact, in the 4th chapter of Adi Lila Chaitanya Charitamrita, that sort of terminology is used, that type of love becomes like crippled, it becomes restricted by formality. The formality which comes when you understand the truth of who Krishna actually is. Hare Krishna. It's interesting, isn't it? It's amazing. Srila